Yeah. Hello YouTubers and welcome to another episode. Today we're going to get some coaching done on the water. Not me doing the coaching, but me getting coached. Fortunately, I have a coach in the household, so we are adhering to all the restriction rules here for British rowing and the government with exercise and rowing specifically. So it'll be really interesting to actually have someone out there with me specifically to try and coach me, rather than previously what I've been doing, what I've been helping, Charlie's been helping me with. He'll be out in his single, I'll be in mine. You'll have a look, see what you can see, but it's quite difficult. Different angles, different speeds, different sort of, have to weave and bob when you're in different boats, rather than having a specific person out there watching and trying to coach. So that's what we're doing this morning. Got my smoothie to fuel me for the session. Delicious combination of berries, of oats, of banana and milk. So hopefully that will tide me through till we get back for some more fuel after the session. And what I'll do is put a little timestamp somewhere to let you know how long this session is going to be, because there's been some requests for a longer rowing session, so hopefully that will be on this video. Not so much a minute or so, maybe just a bit longer. But if you don't want to watch the whole thing, here is the time for the end of the rowing and a little bit of a chat about sort of the differences between coaching and what you might be able to do if you're struggling with not being coached currently in the current situation. So we're going to get in the car, get in the Yam Drover, get to the boathouse and get on the water. So let's get to it.
Small hand movements.
And once again, we've made it to the boat bays with the boat on the rack after the session, and that session itself was probably, in fact not probably, it was the most frustrating session I've had in the single so far. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. One, when you are doing a bunch of drills, stationary or not, and you're really really dialed into making the improvements, it can be, if it's going wrong more than going right, you can kind of think grr and not quite be happy with how it's progressing. And then yesterday I had a really good session, and I think today I was hoping to step on from that rather than at the very least stay at the same point. But having a coach watch and talk through the session a little bit and just say I said the same thing. I thought I didn't really improve that session, but she was saying, well, actually it looked like you were doing better. So I think partly for me there's still that beginner's mentality of the balance. So a little bit of, if it's not very balanced, it's not doing well. But yes, of course, you can be unbalanced and go fast, but you don't see sort of world champions being unbalanced, really. And so I'm kind of getting there with that. And I think today was a good session to have, because it can't always be like a session like yesterday. It can't be all successes and all pushing up. You have to be able to sort of go down to go up, if that makes sense. Sometimes you need a bit of momentum to climb up to the next step or stage or level. So that's kind of what I was going through this morning. And it's another thing about is, oh well, on the water, it's I'm getting frustrated, the session's not going well, or something like that. Realistically, it's in your head that, like, the session might be going terribly. You might have flipped the boat 85 times, but it's in your head to decide if you're going to get frustrated from that, or if you're going to try to get the best out of the session and be a bit more positive with it. So yes, maybe I was clipping the water a bit. Yes, maybe I felt like it wasn't as smooth as yesterday. Maybe it was a case of the camera hanging out the boat yesterday meant it was easier for me to balance it because I'm being a bit uneven. So with the camera hanging out one side, it made it a bit more even, if that makes sense. But there's a bunch of things like that, but it all boils down to how I deal with it in my head. And the more positive I can be, the more positive the results should be, in theory. But now it's time to fuel up, because remember, food is fuel, and after any session, we have to fuel up. And then I'll go to talk about sort of the benefits of coaching before the end of the video. Oh yeah! And we've made it back to the house. We've got some delicious mango with some delicious tuna and rice to fuel up after the session. But now, welcome to those who might have skipped from the start of the video to here. We're talking about coaching, why you might want it, why it is beneficial, and maybe some tips that might help in the current situation, since we can't be sort of as close as we might want to get coached. So, why do we want to have a coach? Well, really simply, it's another perspective on what you're doing. So not only is it a different brain looking at the same situation and maybe looking at it differently to get different outcomes or different approaches, but it's also a different set of eyes seeing the same thing that you're feeling. And so sometimes what you're feeling and what you're doing and what you think it might look like might be different than it actually looks like, because you can't have a third person view of yourself live without a sort of external camera. For example, today I was feeling like I wasn't quite making that many improvements. I'm thinking I want to step on further today, but the coach said, well, it actually looked like you made a good step forward. And so it's kind of things like that where, okay, different pair of eyes, different perspective helps positively to keep that progression going forward. And having just another brain to perhaps figure out a solution to a problem that might have arisen can always be better than just one brain trying to solve that problem. And then, obviously, with the current situation, throughout the entire world, it can be quite difficult to be coached. Here in the UK, the British Rowing Guidelines, you're not allowed to have a coach out or a launch out with you unless they're in the same household. So how does one get coached now? Well, it's kind of a case of what situation you're in, what facilities are available to you. But if you can't get a launch on the water because you're not part of the same household, you could, in theory, maybe there's a towpath you could cycle down, but obviously sometimes there's no paths or towpaths that a coach can cycle down and watch you row. There's other opportunities. For example, I've sent my videos out to different people and asked their opinion of, say, okay, here's me rowing. Is there anything you can see to help? With me, obviously, I have the Yamsquad backing me up to say this is wrong or this is right, well done or not so well done. So that helps as well. But for you, if you don't have quite the backing of the Yamsquad seeing you every day, it's showing your coach or whoever it is you doing your activity. So whether that's getting some footage of you somehow, asking a friend to film you as you go by, as the coach filmed me today going by the dock, or sticking a GoPro to the boat. But obviously if you don't have a GoPro, it can be quite difficult. And then there's also things like you go onto YouTube, watch YouTube videos of people that you know are very good rowers and seeing what they do right and then trying to enact that. So yes, you might not be able to get that visual feedback, that external feedback from someone else, but if you can learn to almost coach yourself, not only will that help you get better, but also help you in the long run when you can actually get coached. And lastly, there is the Yamsquad custom training program. There are a couple of spots open now that I would hopefully be able to help some of the Yamsquad. So there's the sort of training program itself option, where if you want a training program, I write the training program for you, we talk about it and what's best for you. And then there's the custom plus, which we can do the same as the first one, but also you can send me footage of you rowing, whether it's on the erg, whether it's on the water, just trying to figure things out together as a sort of not with you coach, but helping you through a bit more personally, if that makes sense. So I'll put a link in the description if you do want to have a look at the custom Yamsquad training programs, and there will be a discount for both of them for the first month. But that's kind of it for coaching. If you're really lucky to have a coach that's in your household and able to get on a launch as well, that's ideal. Secondary to that is trying to get some footage of yourself, so not only you can analyze it, but someone else, whether it's a coach, a friend, whoever it is, to analyze that, and then you can even compare that to sort of footage on YouTube or elsewhere. And then lastly, trying, if you can't record yourself, if you can't get footage of yourself rowing, trying to learn about, whether it is rowing or other sports, trying to learn about that, the technique and the small nuances of that sport as best you can, so that when you do compete, perform, train, whatever it is, you know what you're trying to do and you know close to what it might look like or feel like from the inside, if that makes sense. And that is, if you can get to that stage, that's absolutely massive. And that's, currently the stage I'm at with sculling is I've watched loads of YouTube videos, I've trained with so many people that are really good at sculling, I've been around rowing for long enough to know what good rowing looks like, but my body doesn't know what it feels like, if that makes sense. So we're making progress, we're hopefully getting somewhere in the body feeling of rowing. But that is for future Yamsquad to look forward to and follow along on the journey. And as always, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I will see you in tomorrow's episode for Hump Day. And have a good one.